So I would like to welcome James Balzer from the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water. Thanks, James.
Well, thank you very much. It's really great to be here, everyone. And my apologies for the camera. For some reason, it doesn't seem to be working. But at least my audio is working, and that's the thing. And you can see the screen and the slides we've prepared. And this program has been going since since February this year, and has been quite successful so far, as we'll get into in later statistics. But at the moment, the big challenge we're trying to address is that in New South Wales, only about 3% of apartments actually have solar installed. It's a massive discrepancy when compared to standalone homes. And one of the reasons is the economics of solar among strata is not always the most feasible. And the way you can work around that is through a 50% rebate that is given to eligible owners, corporations, or strata managers to install shared solar systems on apartments. And it's exactly what this grant does. So if you're a residential strata and you have 3 to 55 residential lots, you're eligible to apply for this. Now, keep in mind, most of the energy that you generate from a solar system that is being funded by SOAR must go to residential properties themselves. And only 40% max can go to common areas. We offer up to $150,000 of grant funding per project, which is 50% of the total solar PV system cost. So in other words, the maximum PV system can be $300,000, and we will fund up to $150,000. It's a demand-driven grant, meaning it's not like you apply in a period and then we assess all the grants and then we award them in one big batch. It's ongoing. So at the moment, the grant is still open for applications and we assess them on an ongoing basis. The key objectives of this particular grant program is supporting cost saving and addressing the cost of living crisis that we're all in, but also looking at emissions reduction as well within apartments. Next slide, please. So we had a lot of interest in the program. The photo you actually see on the left-hand side there is from the launch event on the 28th of February this year. We had the Prime Minister, Minister Bowen and Minister Sharp all there. So the fact that the Prime Minister's interested and the Federal Minister for Climate Change is interested and the New South Wales Minister for Climate Change and Energy is interested shows there's a lot of interest in the program. And to date, we've had 551 initial applications and $1.225 million of funding allocated so far. So we're not out of money. We've got $25 million in total. We have about $23.8 million left. So if you're concerned about us having run out of funds, that's not the case. We have a lot of money to go around, luckily. So please feel free to apply and don't have that concern in mind. We currently have 31 agreements signed to the active projects all across the state that are actually being built right now. Solar's being installed as we speak, and about 120 are going, full applications are in consideration, as in they're being prepared by applicants, and 114 are undergoing suitability assessment, so the final stage of assessment. Now, one of the things we have seen is a bit of a skew towards applications coming from places like the North Shore and eastern suburbs, and also somewhat in Newcastle as well. And most of the applications are for 10 to 20 residential lots, so sort of quite small to medium-sized strata. We've gotten a lot of shout-outs and a lot of credit at different conferences and events like the Smart Energy Conference and other forums as well. So this has been a really successful program, and we're still going hard, and we think we can do really well between now and Christmas. So the way it works is that there's two stages that you have to pass to get funded. And number one is the expression of interest. The expression of interest is just a sort of black and white objective assessment against the eligibility. So the eligibility criteria that we work with are on the screen here. So basic things like, are you a class 2 domestic building under the NCC? Do you have a minimum of 3 residential lots and no more than 55? Are you a completed development? Have you not had solar installed in the last 10 years? Are you in New South Wales, etc., etc. Importantly, please keep in mind you have to be registered as a residential strata under the Strata Schemes Development Act of 2015. That means if you're Torrens title, for example, or other forms of title, you're not eligible for this. So please keep that in mind. And also, as per what you're required to have, you have to have active strata insurance policy, which is required for any strata anyway. Next slide, please. So there's a bit of a long list of all the eligible products that can be funded. Here's the list here that's copy and pasted from the actual website, and that's been updated over time as we've gone through the application process and received feedback. So there's a number of different things that can be funded, as you can see, and they're quite broad. And so that could even be the creation and sale of STCs. It could be safety equipment, obviously basic things like grid protection devices, solar PV, solar panels and optimizers, etc. is all eligible costs as well. Now, keep in mind that the majority of funding has to be for the actual solar PV system purchase. Enabling works like meter board upgrades and wiring upgrades have to not be more than 10% of the total project cost. So please keep that in mind if you're applying and doing the budgeting for how much of a quote you want. So how much of a grant amount you want. Next slide, please. So what we're not going to be funding, as I mentioned earlier, certain other forms of tenancy. So things like individual property owners, local government authorities, education institutions, not-for-profit organisations, and so forth. There are other grants for things like social housing and community housing, which is good. Sheppey is a great example of that. But we're not dealing with that because they've already got that covered. So we're dealing with private. We're dealing with like private residential strata that is listed under the Strata Schemes Development Act of 2015 as residential strata. And as you can see here, things like multi-unit developments operating under company title, retirement villages, commercial buildings, and so forth is not eligible for funding under this. So next slide, please. So once you've passed this eligibility criteria, and once we've determined you're eligible, we then look at the suitability criteria. Now, this is what the full application is about. So in the full application, you fill out a full comprehensive application. Then we pass that off to 3 external assessors who independently assess your application, your full application, that is, against the suitability criteria, which you have on the screen here. So there's 2 that are sort of a simple pass-fail basis, and there's 1 that's scored on a scale of 0 to 10, which are the 4 below there. So demonstrated project effectiveness, project is value for money and a reasonable cost, method to propose the work is sound and effective, and there is capacity and capability of the applicant to undertake the proposed project. So that's sort of some simple suitability criteria, but we do actually have quite a comprehensive assessment process for the suitability criteria. But if all 3 assessors agree that this is a good project and meets all the suitability criteria, then you pass, and well done, you're now eligible to receive funding. So in terms of timelines, so we actually, as I mentioned, we opened this on the 28th of February this year. And at the moment, as we speak, applications close on the 1st of December. Now, keep in mind, we may potentially end up extending that. That's not confirmed yet. That's not formalized yet. So please don't assume it's going to happen. It might not happen. But we are in negotiations with the Commonwealth, who are giving us funds to actually explore extending it. So assume right now that that won't happen. Assume 1st of December is going to be the final date, but it may be extended. So please keep your eye out for that. As I mentioned before, there's 2 rounds you have to pass in order to get the funding. You've got to pass the EOI, as I mentioned, and the full application stage as well, as in demonstrating alignment with the suitability criteria. The way that actually works from a grant to grant basis, you submit the EOI. We then conduct in-house in the department an eligibility assessment. So we actually assess you against the eligibility criteria within 10 business days. If you pass that, it then goes back to you, the grant applicant, and then within 40 business days, you have to prepare and submit a full application, which is a much more comprehensive application. And then after that, you then kind of comes to us, and within what's now actually 30 business days. It used to be 20, that was a bit too short. So within 30 business days, you then actually have us working with our external assessment panel to assess your application against the suitability criteria. If you can pass that, then we will offer you the funding deed within 10 business days of the application being successful. So all in all, it can take a couple of months sometimes, depending on some of the back and forth, or if we need more information in order to actually prepare an application and submit it. So please keep that in mind. It does take a bit of time to prepare these things. So please give yourself enough time to do so. That's the end of it. Yeah, some more questions. Obviously, there's the website there, so you can check it out. But there's also a shared inbox, solar.banks.nsw.nsw.gov.au at the bottom there. Please feel free to save that, screenshot that email address, and reach out to that email address. That's where all the queries go through. Don't reach out to me personally or any of the team. That's the go-to inbox where everything is centralized. Thank you very much.